you ever felt stuck in your relationship, questioning if the person that you're with fits into the narcissistic box that social media loves to talk about? Well, in today's video, I'm going to share with you a powerful story that surprised even me, and it transformed a seemingly impossible relationship. And you'll learn why shedding these labels can open the door to deeper connection and personal growth. When we are in a relationship, over time, we tend to put our partner in a box by labeling them as needy or dramatic. For this video, a narcissist. And this oversimplifies a person's complex personality, and it locks us into seeing them in a certain way that may prevent us from seeing their growth and changes. Think of it this way: if you have a medical diagnosis, it says very little about you, and the same is true for a mental health diagnosis. So this brings me to narcissism, a big topic that I see everywhere on social media. And interestingly, narcissistic personality disorder only affects 1 to 2% of the population, which is relatively small. But when you read about narcissism on social media or you see it in videos, it's easy to question if you know someone or even if you are a narcissist. I remember in my graduate program in counseling psychology, learning about various diagnoses. It's easy to self-diagnose and diagnose others. So here's the story. I worked with someone whose husband would gaslight her, and I don't use that word lightly because I think it is wildly overused. But in this case, he did gaslight her. He made her question herself in the biggest way, and he was sensitive to criticism, and it would have been easy to identify him as a narcissist. And I honestly didn't know if this relationship would work, but I always work with people to work on the relationship and themselves until they decide that they are ready to leave, if that's what they decide. It's not my place to decide for another person if they should stay or leave a relationship. Regardless whether they decide to leave or stay, they are growing in their work with me, and that's what's important. They benefit either way, staying or leaving, because they grew. So her husband would constantly say things to her like, "That never happened," or "You're overreacting," or "You're too sensitive," or "I never said that." She would constantly question herself in this really extreme place of self-doubt. And she was a growth-oriented person, which was kind of tricky because when someone gaslights you and you're open to your own growth and learning about yourself, it's hard to sort out when you're being gaslighted or what is really your challenge in the relationship. And she would get caught up in believing that he didn't love her and he wouldn't do this if he loved her. I, on the other hand, worked with her on her growth and helped her to respond to his behaviors and learn to gain her own confidence in herself so that she learned to know what was true and then learned to articulate that to him, but not against her husband. Standing her ground is not standing against, and I'll say more about that because so many confuse the difference. Standing up as opposed to standing against, I think, is when we pathologize each other. We are being against a person, or when we are accusatory or blaming in return or lashing out at them. That is standing against. Standing up to a person is very different. And this is what this woman learned to do. My work with her, it took 2 years until she began to gain confidence. And let me say, it was very hard to see her in such pain and self-doubt. However, she learned to say things to her husband and believe it. Not just find the words, but believe it in her heart and soul. So she would say things to him like, "I remember the situation very clearly and my feelings are legitimate." Or she would say, "I won't engage in this kind of blame, but when you're open to a conversation without blame, I'm here." Or she would say, "It's not okay for you to decide what hurts me My experiences are valid. So here's what happened. She got strong and learned to disengage when he would gaslight her. And she would talk to him in a way that, to my surprise, he opened up. He would say that he was insecure and that he didn't feel good about how he treated her, but he didn't know another way because that's what he grew up with. I found myself saying to her, he said that? Here's the thing. Had I labeled him a narcissist, what was she supposed to do with that? But when we worked on helping her grow, helping her learn to stand her ground, he followed her lead. Now, I'm by no means suggesting that it will always go in a positive direction if you grow and learn to stand your ground. But instead of a diagnosis, let's learn to refer to challenges as behavioral patterns and relationship dynamics. This approach focuses on interactions and it empowers you to choose how you want to respond. Many behaviors can be hurtful, but the hope lies in addressing them specifically. That's the benefit of not labeling someone. You can address specific behaviors and learn and grow in how to respond. Now that is empowering. And I'm not even suggesting that this approach will always help a relationship work. I never try to predict that. I mean, I worked with a couple once where a person would lash out and say hurtful things. And as we worked together, the person on the receiving end eventually realized that no matter how hard I tried to understand and help their partner, they just were not budging in growth. And eventually this person did leave the relationship, but this person was all the much stronger and more confident in her decision to leave. So next time you find yourself quick to label someone, take a step back. Consider the behaviors and the dynamics at play and ask yourself how you can stand up for yourself without standing against someone else. And remember, growth and understanding lead to healthier relationships and a more empowered you. So thank you so much for watching. If you subscribe, I appreciate the support and I hope that my content supports you in return. I look forward to seeing you again soon.